Well, good day and welcome once again to Moments with Dr. Steve. This is our first long version video that we've done ever, really. I've done some 20 or 30 minute, 40-minute pieces, but this is going to be a lengthy piece because we're going to start working you through the genius path, which is the biggest piece of helping literature that I have crafted. And it is really everything I do in terms of healing and help and human interactivity and human improvement comes out of the way out, which is what my magnus opus on human healing that I created many years ago. And this became, if you will, the log, if you believe in the log and splinter theory of learning. This became, meaning the way out, this log that splintered into several different courses that I have created on human development over the last several years. All of it based in the milieu. There's that big word, that the soil, the loam, the rich loam, the fertile landscape of working with very broken human beings. Now, today we are going to give you a beginning place, a place to start to think about, especially now as our nation is in this turmoil and as people's lives are in such conflict and as careers are evaporating and as humans start to frazzle and as all of us hope for better outcomes. Long ago, I created the Genius Path. And the Genius Path is this idea that you contain genius. And we'll get into the definition of genius as the sessions go along, and we'll get into what it looks like. But to start with, I want to spend some time by going over the Genius Path with you. And I want you to take a hard gander at it. I want you to I always tell people when I present this in classes or forums or colloquiums or wherever it is that I get to present. Here I get to present to you, and I'm grateful for this. By the way, leave us a note in the comments section, and don't forget to click the subscribe button because we always have lots of fun things going on here at Moments with Dr. Steve. So if you'll notice at the bottom left-hand portion of your screen, we have this idea of starting. And starting for us always means you must begin alone. And there's a chunk of material that we'll work through in days to come about what happens when you start alone and the necessity, if you will, to start alone. Then as we continue to go along, you'll notice personal rocket fuel. And personal rocket fuel for me is this internal thing that happens, and it is decided upon and by what I call your true gift. And your true gift, your spiritual gift, is that which remains in your life when everything else has been strip mined from you. And we'll go over that in days to come. And then your genius is decipherable. We have a process, and several processes, as a matter of fact, where we explain to you that God did not leave you in the void. God does not leave us in a vacuum. God does not leave us in a place of unknowing or untruth. That there is, in fact, something of a value placed inside of your soul, and it's different than your passion, and it's different than DNA. Those are kind of linked, and they may be compatriots with, and they may be particles of genius, but genius is a special gift, and we talk about that. And then big process view. We teach you how to start looking at larger landscapes. If you're a tennis player, we call it hitting into larger zones. We have bigger targets that we're going into. And then as we become really good at process view, then we learn how to shrink the apertures, if you will, and get smaller and smaller views to be able to look at. And then we have 12 principles of life and really business acumen that we have developed that I actually think I should trademark these. By the way, Genius Path is the only trademark that I have ever achieved so far from the United States government, other than my copyrights of all the material that I've created. But the 12 principles are, in fact, genius, and we'll be going through those. And then vision casting and the power of casting a vision. And this is a little bit different, but akin in some ways to the concept that some of you may be familiar with, um, which is called manifesting. Some of you may know something about manifesting, and some of you may do some of that on a regular basis. And so we'll work on that in days and moments to come. And then purpose. Purpose is such a powerful, powerful engine in a life. So if you look down at the road, and if you start with the cityscape in behind you, and you begin to understand rocket fuel is this internal engine that never, never expires. It's evergreen, if you will. It never runs out of fuel. And that's this idea that your genius is indeed decipherable, meaning you can figure these things out no matter where you are in life or no matter what life has hurled at you or is hurling at you. Big process view, this idea to look into bigger and larger targets. And then the 12 principles, which really by themselves are the cylinders, if you will, that drive the crankshaft of a great life. And then vision casting, the ability to really, really pull thought and take it out of murky and take it out of hazy and take it out of fuzzy and get it into a vision that is castable. And then we talk about purpose and the power of how purpose is aligned with destiny and how DNA and characteristics of the soul and personality traits, all those things may be wedded to and woven inside of purpose, but they are not purpose, and purpose is a powerful thing. And then the universal genius grid. I cannot wait till we talk about that. To me, it is one of the greatest ideas I've ever had in my life, and I love talking about it, and I love helping people discover where they sit inside of the universal genius grid. And then volcanic activity, as you begin to weave your way along this serpentine, you'll notice this is not a linear path. This is not a linear path. It's not circular. It is progressive, and it grows, and it moves, and it has motion, and it has emotion, and it has commotion attached to it. As you do these things, there are volcanic events that happen in your life. And I tell you what, the more you move into this, the more these become intense, and we teach you how to alert for them and how to work with and through them, because you do not want to work around them. They are, in fact, an energy source unto themselves. And then island formation, this idea that you can create the thing that you have envisioned, that you can take your genius and move it through the process and understand it through the lens of the genius grid and begin to deal with the sparks and the attacks and the vitriol that come your way. And you can form an island. And then as you do so, you'll start to notice that there are language and cultures and tribes that start to build around you. And because of your genius, you build language and a culture starts to develop, and you begin to have your own tribe. And this is power. This, as people begin to come along and attach themselves to you and to your idea base, this is when power begins to really form up. If you will, these are all just molecules down here that you are exciting if you're a physicist. And here is when you start to develop some elements, and here is when you start to develop some compound elements. Wow. And then as you continue to move along, you plant your flag. You get intellectual property. You own things because you have created them. And I own a lot of things because I have created them ex nihilo, but with the full help of many, many other people. And of course, with the handprint and the fingerprints of my own personality and genius placed upon them. And then one big obsessive idea. This is one of my most powerful concepts that I love to talk into. And then dreams to empire. You start alone, and our goal is always to bring you to empire. I want you to study the map. I want you to take a literal snapshot of it with your brain. Maybe you'll take a snapshot with your screenshot, and you begin to imprint this so deeply inside of your own mind that you tell yourself, this is the place that I'm heading. What I've learned about this over the years as I presented it to hundreds and hundreds of people in many different settings is that this process, this idea set, these concepts, they indeed grab us. They are sticky wickets. They are adhesives. They're gluey. They have this component part that connects to things inside of us, because this is really, if you take a look at it, this is really a soul map. And again, what's interesting about the Genius Path is it evolves over time. When I first put this together, the genius that I thought I had is way different than what I originally began with, because the Genius Path, in fact, opens up new streams of information to us on a continuous and ongoing basis. So take a photo of it, snapshot it. You start alone, folks. If you're alone, God bless you. That's a good place. It's not a lousy, it's not a bad place. And then personal rocket fuel, this thing that you still have inside of you that is calling you forward, that is in fact the personal rocket fuel. And it is inextinguishable, shall we use that word? And it is inexhaustible. It never runs out of fuel. And then this idea that your genius is in fact decipherable, that you can know this, that this is not mystery. This is not hidden in some shrouded, mystical land that you have to make homage and pilgrimage to, and, be on your hands and knees crawling upstairs, in the dead of winter and cutting yourself and lacerating. No, your genius is decipherable, and a big process view. This idea that you need to learn to shoot into bigger targets, and you need to direct your attention at first towards them. We teach you how to do that. And then the 12 principles, which, as I said, I think are just absolutely, they're a gift unto themselves. And when we go through them, you will start to see that. Then vision casting and purpose and the universal genius grid and volcanic activity, and how that this process creates friction and sparks fly. And then island formation, that you can begin to build your own if you will, standalone continent, but you will integrate with other people, and you will interlace with other people's content. And that's really what the Universal Genius Grid teaches you about. And then language, culture, and tribe. And this is when power starts to amass. If you're a physicist, this is when power begins to really mass itself around and because of you and your ideas and your genius, because language and culture and tribe begin to ascribe themselves and adhere themselves to your larger pictures. You've done this in your life. I do this in my life with great ideas. And then the expeditionary force, where you plant your flag and say, here I stand. Here is where I intend to build my life. And then this one big obsessive idea that is this capturing wind that takes you to places that you never dreamed possible. And then your dreams begin to change and convert into empires. I want you to take a look at this. I want you to get your mind around it. I want you to say to yourself, I can do these things. I can accomplish these things. I can make this happen. This can take place in my world. Now, I'm going to just say to you, if you want to be a part of these conversations in a more particular way in your own life, then send us a note, drop us a note in the email here, and one of our folk will get back in touch with you. Maybe me, it may not be. We have other folk besides me that do reach out. But it'll be an interesting time for you to start to really take your life seriously. It's like, you may view this moment, and here's how I say it sometimes. You may view this moment as the moment when, wham, the universe, God, however you see that, it's immaterial to me, really. When God, the universe, begins to speak into your life, and these weird thoughts and, amalgam of ideas and failures and wishes, as those start to, collide in your own life, you happen upon this teaching. and it begins to resonate with you. The material is very powerful. So you go to stableages.org, you drop us a note, or you drop us a note here in the comments, or you send us a personal email, and we begin the process of communicating with you. Now, what we're going to talk about is we're going to spend some time talking with you about the next topic for us, which is we're actually going to get into some material. We're actually going to get into some of the material right now. And I'm going to try to figure out how to get you there, okay? And now I'm a little confused because I don't really know how to do this, but I'm going to try. So we're going to try this, session 1, and there we go. And now we're here, and we're going to spend some time talking about a guided path to self-care. Let me ask you something. When was the last time that you genuinely cared for yourself? I saw this piece on a television show I was watching, and it was this beautiful, beautiful African-American lady, and she was weeping, just as she told her story in such a celebrative but mournful way, because she was in her mid-50s, I would have guessed from looking at her. And she said, I always take care of others, and this is the only thing I've ever done for myself. And then she wanted to tell this tale about what she was presenting that day, because it came out of her soul, you see. And so it meant so much to her. And I thought to myself, that's exactly how all of us are. That's exactly how all of us are. And so we're going to go over today with you a pathway to guided a guided pathway to self-care. And you may wish, and I mean this, you may wish to get out a pen and paper, because you're going to probably need it. So session 1, as we begin the process, is all about you. Session 2 is about your history, and session 3 is about your family dynamics. But session 1 is about you. And as we begin this guided process, as we begin to move you into the Genius Path process, we begin what I think is really at least a 40-day event. Why 40 days? Many significant historical events have happened in that time frame. Our goal for you is healing. Our goal for you is process. Our goal for you is improvement. Our goal for you is decision making. Our goal for you is for you to be unstuck. Our goal for you is for you to embrace and discover and embrace your genius. These are our goals for you, and I take them very seriously. This is the one of the summits of my life work. If you look at my life work, and we'll just pause on that for a minute. The summit of my life work is Akeldima the Saga. Many of you know I write novels and I write fiction. That is the summit. And then, if you will, the mountain range of my life that is populated with Through Gates of Fire, which is my first novel series. And then Genius Path is right up there with it. And of course, a little taller summit, not the Mount Everest. The Mount Everest of my life, in my opinion, is Akeldima the Saga. But the K2, if you will, of my life is The Way Out. The Way Out. This is K2 in my life. It comes out of an incredible place in my life, because I've been at this so many years. So for you, our goal is healing. Our goal is process. Our goal is this takes time. Our goal is for you to make some choices. Our goal is for you to make some decisions. Our goal is for you to do this step by step by step, and for you to at least commit to 40 days to say, all right, I'm going to plow into this. I'm going to contact these people. I'm going to find out who they are. I'm going to dip my toe in the water, and I'm going to say, forget that. I'm going to dive into the deep end of the ocean, believing that there is an outcome for me that's going to be beyond what I imagine or think possible. So begin the process. And many of you are already saying, well, I've heard these words. I've been a part of this. Nothing has happened for me so far. Well, stay tuned. You are in direct You're being guided in a direction that moves towards certain clarity and certain well-defined outcomes. I'm going to say that well. As you begin the Genius Path process, you are guided in a direction that moves you towards clarity. Remember where we started with foggy and hazy and unsure, and I can't make it work, and my life is cluttered, and things aren't happening for me. No, we're going to take you into a guided tour that will move you towards certain clarity and well-defined outcomes. The healing process is a letting go. It's a loosening of whatever has you stuck. And by refusing to be held back and restrained by past events in your life, we're going to help you begin to move forward. I'm going to go over that again because I think it is just so, so powerful. I'm going to go over that with you again. And that is that you will be guided in a direction that moves you towards certain clarity and well-defined outcomes. The healing process is a letting go. It's a loosening of whatever has you stuck. And by refusing to be held back and restrained by past events in your life is going to move forward. Healing is emotional. Healing is a process. It's a letting go. Healing is a loosening of whatever has you stuck. And healing is a refusal to go backwards. It's a refusal to go backwards and continue to be restrained by past events. Healing is emotional. Your emotions may get stirred and jumbled as you look at your life. That's okay. We want you to sit with the process. We want you to work through this for the next 40 days. So healing is a process. It's a letting go. It's a loosening of whatever has you stuck. It's a refusal to go backwards and be restrained by past events. And it is a decision that your life can move forward. Healing is emotional. Your emotions may get stirred and jumbled as you look at your life, and it's okay. But for you to decide to commit to 40 days to do the work, healing is physical. Your body needs to move. Your body needs to make changes and alter your physical location and living situation from time to time. But for some of you, that's not possible. And so we want you to at least be aware that there's some kinetic energy that has to start happening. And then healing is the dynamic process of growth and change. You must decide not to be static anymore. I read this article recently that talked about that the average person. I live in the United States. I don't know where you live, where you find us, or we find you. We bless you and we send you blessing and honor. But in the United States, the article talked about the fact that a large majority of adults in the United States are just stuck. They're in goo. They're in quicksand. They're in this place where that they don't know how to make any kind of positive progress. Well, we want you to know that in order for you to begin to go along the path that you need to go on, and for us, that's the Genius Path, your healing has to become dynamic. In other words, you have to put energy to this. So study this right now. Take a moment. We're giving you a guided tour in a direction that is moving you towards certain clarities and certain well-defined outcomes. We want you to understand that healing is a letting go. It's a loosening. It is a refusal to go backwards. It is an absolutely determined person that is not going to be held by past events. And it's a decision and commitment to go forward. And that healing is emotional. And you understand that you are an emotional being, and no matter what happens or how you feel stirred or stopped, you're going to commit to a process, and then it's physical. Your body needs to move. You may need to make changes or alter your physical location, or you may need to find a physical place to do the work every single day. That's what I do. And then healing is a dynamic process of growth and change. You must decide not to be static. Next, where to start? Well, you review the daily podcast, which we're giving to you. And as you move into the process with us, and as you decide to engage with us and hear either on this forum or personally with us in our organization, it takes 18 to 15 minutes a day. We have a workbook that we put together that has some elements from the podcast, whether we'll send that to you and you can write down your thoughts and feelings and reactions as you begin to do the work. Get ready to speak into some issues. We're going to help you dig deeper into your own world and universe. Now, some of this is self-created and some is a result of other people's choices that have affected you. That's okay. We're going to help you identify issues and then begin to rightly define the situation. Our first goal really is to help you rightly define and describe your current setting and situation without embellishment or exaggeration or without lament, for you to disassociate from it, to look at it and to give yourself a clear explanation of who you are and where you are and why you're here, and then create and give and create and speak proper language. We're going to give you ways to rework many words and choose to describe your life in different ways. For example, from I'm a loser to I'm a valued child of God, and he's not finished with me yet. That's just where it's going to start. Next, we were going to ask you to do some things. As we work through the material, we will ask you to locate some past incidents. These are big and small events that have stopped you cold in your tracks. These have created false impressions or simply they've derailed you. I've been doing this many, many years. And I can tell you that past incidents certainly impact future decisions. I have learned that past incidents certainly impact and influence and affect future decisions. And we're going to help you locate some of those. And then identify how these incidents affected or harmed or impacted you. Some of them stopped you physically and mentally and emotionally, if not relationally, and perhaps even to the place where you have not progressed through. And then we're going to help you examine those incidents and happenings and events and write them down so you can see them on paper or digitally, and then look at their impact and repercussion. That is a powerful process we will take you through and take people through in the Genius Path process. And then session structures. We want you to see in your mind and notice the younger and more valuable you. We will help you to see and place the younger you inside of incidents and events that impacted you. We'll help you feel the emotions and describe how the younger and more vulnerable you handled or mishandled or managed or mismanaged or succumbed or overcame that incident or event. And we will remind you that you are no longer broken. You may not feel it yet. It's going to take time, perhaps. But in time, you will feel healed through the process. And we will teach you how to speak and care for the younger version of you and the present version of you. And we will teach you to speak kind and comforting words and protective language to the younger you as well. And we'll teach you how to learn to set boundaries so you can promise yourself that you no longer will permit anyone to harm you in the way that you were harmed in the past. And we'll speak words and phrases of comfort like not today. And I'm watching and caring over you now, meaning your former self. As each session ends, you have the start of a new beginning. As each session ends, you have the promise of a new beginning. We'll show you how to pause and ask God for guidance, to invoke the specific and declarative redemptive power of God, to speak God's love and power over the former you and the new you and the future you, to divine and study and to dive into what happened to me with the intent of how did I get here and how am I going to get out of this mess? And then to listen to God's voice. Ask for and listen to and receive the still, small voice of God. And to follow the guidance of God. Look deep into your soul and reflect and ponder upon your inner self using new language. Notice your own personal qualities. The genius will start to effervesce. It'll start to percolate. And it starts to bubble and appear, even if you've buried it in your basement in a trunk somewhere and put a bunch of rugs and mats and old furniture on top of it. And you will discover the qualities and characteristics that are your true genius. I do this work every day with people. Learn lessons. Today we want you to learn and to embrace that your life requires reflection. We want you to see that your future requires guidance, and I would insert the word caring guidance, and the inclusion of mentors. And God has something to say to you about your future, and he wants you to seek him and listen. So there is where we are. There is where we start. Now, today, right now, I'm asking you to really just kind of pause. By the way, there's the certificate back here. I can never do this. For the Genius Path that I got from the trademark office. Huh? So where are you right now? Let's pause a moment. Let's just reflect. So far, we have been plowing into some heavy-duty territory. This is the work I do every single day for lots and lots of humans all over all over the globe. People contact me, by the way, and I love the work we do. Let's go backwards here. I want to go backwards, and I want to show you again this because I want you to see it. Okay, I want you to see this again, and I want you to plot where you are. Huh? Where are you? Take a hard look. Take a really, really hard look. Where are you on the Genius Path? Are you just starting? Are you way up here? If you're way up here, contact us. We want to know. We love talking to successful people. We love to know how people got here. I like talking to folks that have, you know, walked the path and done the work. That's fun for me. Not that we want anything from you. We just want to know your story. We love stories. Where are you? Are you cloudy? Are you down here where you just can't see, get your mind around what your genius is? Do you have such small targets now that you just can't imagine a bigger life? Do you have no principles that seem to be working? Get the Genius Path. Go to stalegius.org, get the Genius Path, and get the 12 principles and memorize them. Are you having trouble seeing things right? Are you cloudy and fuzzy and hazy and unclear and cluttered? Then purpose, to really get to the essence of who you are as a person. This business of purpose, I think I have taught this to more people now than I ever thought possible. And it's because it has become so clear to me over the years that this is so necessary. And then the universal genius screen, where do you fit into God's greater plan with your ideas and your idea set based upon your own personality? And then volcanic activity. Are there sparks happening in your life? Is there friction? Are people pushing back? Are you noticing that the tectonic plates of your social world are just colliding at all points and your world is imploding or exploding? Well, that means that good things are happening. And we teach you not to run away from volcanic activity, but to rather lean into it, for there is an energy source there unto itself. And then island formation. Are you clear about your product set? Do you have an intellectual property set that you're clear about now? And you don't just know how to move about with it, or you do. Either way, that's a powerful place. And then language and culture and tribe. Man, this is powerful stuff. Well, as you begin to develop language, and I've developed a lot of language that you can see in the material that you're consuming and absorbing, and then culture and tribe happen when people begin to absorb your language and idea sets and your genius and begin to take them on as their own, and then to begin to become ambassadors and brand ambassadors out in the universe. I have done that for others. I still do that for others. And people do that for me some. Because the material by itself is powerful. And then the expeditionary force, plant your flag. Man, I'll tell you what, I have driven my flag down inside of my genius. You know what my genius is? Creativity. I'm a writer. Caring for broken human beings. I'm a therapist. Being a presenter. I am something of a teacher, a mentor, a person that speaks wisdom, if you will. And then, of course, more than anything else, I am a caring human being. And that really does, long ago has determined that my life shall be involved with broken people and helping people find their path. And then my one big obsessive idea is that all of my ideas find root. All of my ideas find root and sinew in the lives of humans as they take the genius path. Dreams to empire. Take a look at that. So where are you on this serpentine pathway? It is so far from being a linear path. It is a circular path. So what about you? Huh? Where are you on the journey? Where are you? We want to know. We want to know because we care about you. And more than that, we want you to care as much about you as we care about your outcome. You know, if I've learned anything in all the work I've done over the years with people and with, congregations and with institutions and with businesses and university, all the things I've had the chance to do, I have learned that people have to want the material. I have learned that there has to be something that's already stirred inside of their soul. I no longer think or believe. I think I used to believe, and I think this is fallacious and erroneous stuff. I used to believe that you could indeed convince people of something, that you could, manufacture some kind of a system where the people could, you could do things to, if you will, manipulate the way they think and see and feel. I don't think that anymore. I think rather now that what happens in my work that verifies it and gives, value and validity, it's a validation, is when already the stirring is happening. And I come along as the teacher, as I come along as the helper, I come along as this, the helpmate, I come along as the side-by-side companion, because I never see myself as lifted or elevated. I always see myself either as humble and, as somebody that esteems others more important than I esteem myself, or as a co-companion. I call it co-passion bearer. That's one of the terms I've created. So where are you in the process? I want you to think about it. Now we're going to keep plowing here, but at some point in this journey on this day, you may want to pause the session, and you may want to go and do some other things and come back to it, because I'm clear that this is an awful lot of material to be pouring into your life. I'm clear that we're taking a fire hose, if you will, and pouring it into a small funnel that is then coming into your soul. I'm clear about this. These things have taken me a lifetime to figure out, a lifetime of study and working and trial and error, and then listening to humans, and then reading and doing an awful lot of scholastic work. I'm an academic in the end. So as you think about the genius path, let's now go into the next chunk I want you to put your mind around. And the next chunk is session where we're going to talk about this guided path to self-care. And I love this. I love this so much, and it just came out of my heart, guys. Session 2 has to do with your history. Who are you? We're on an adventure to discover which parts of your perilous previous life, your life up until now, are still affecting you. We have this premise, this operational belief that the past impacts the future. Let's say that again. If you don't know anything about me, you're going to learn something right now. That in all of the work I do, I believe that past impacts future and present. And so up until now, for your journey to be successful from this place forward, it's necessary that you make a commitment to self-care. What is self-care? Well, self-care includes the belief that in your life and being, you have the capacity to discover genius. Self-care means that in your life and in your being, you have the capacity for genius. God has created you uniquely, and your uniqueness is your intellectual and creative power and talents. And the path to discover your genius is this willingness to be led and to discover that there is a unique DNA of how God designed you. And for you to uncover this unconscious, this consciously, and then the unconscious decisions that you have that limit your capacity to be your best self. That's a lot of words, but in the end, it means this. You begin to give yourself permission to explore whatever is necessary to receive your revelation. You give yourself permission to explore whatever is necessary for you to experience personal revelation. That's self-care. Self-care is when you give yourself permission to explore whatever is necessary for you to find and discover your personal revelation. That is self-care. Now, chart, we want you to know, and you'll notice here that I put to be designed. You will notice that this is something that is yet to be worked through for you. We believe that. We believe that you have to design this. And our premise is that you haven't done so yet. So notice where you fit in your family structure. We want you to think about your birth order. Were you the favorite child? Were you the lost kid? Were you adopted? Were you abandoned? Were you the bright kid that led the way on a charger with the battlements behind you? We want you to see where you fit in your family structure. I'm a birth order guy. We want you to notice that we want this has to be designed. This has to come out of your own soul. This has to be something that no one else can do for you. Huh? Where do you fit in your family structure? Where are you at in the birth order? Where are you at in terms of family? Ponder. How was your family functioning? Where were the conflict zones? Where were the war zones? Where were the safe spaces? Where were the zones of warmth and comfort? Now, if you ever come into doing therapeutic work with me, interventive work, I spend a lot of time here with humans, and I have done this for 40 years. Of all the slides and material I think I have ever created, I've created so many it's hard to count them or number them now. But this means a lot to me because this comes out of the work I do. I literally will sit with humans like yourself, and I will say to them that their chart needs to be designed. I will say to them that their chart has yet to be designed, unless they've done this kind of work in the past, with very, very few people I've learned over the years ever do so. And I want you to notice where you fit into your family structure and your birth order and your favorite child. I want you to ponder that. And how did your family function? Was it functional? Was it dysfunctional? All families have, levels of dysfunction and dysregulation. So that's what I've learned over the years. What was the main conflict in your family? I'll literally help a person chart this out. And we'll create war zones and safe spaces and warmth and comfort and places that were completely off limits and places that were dangerous and places that were uncomfortable. We will get to those topics in the Genius Path. But the piece I want you to take away from this slide is that your chart is yet to be designed until you do the work. And I'm helping you to do the work right now, am I not? So once again, you may want to pause or go backwards. You may want to replay this dozens and dozens of times. You can save yourself thousands of dollars of personal therapy if you will start to work through this yet to be designed chart, huh? Answer these questions. Who made you feel safe? I hope I make you feel safe. When people are in session with me, one of the things they say is they feel safe and comfortable. Well, I've worked hard at that, and I take my professional ethic very, very seriously. Where'd you go for comfort? Did you run to this or that or to that? Unfortunately, in this era, many people are comforting themselves through self-harm. Never want you to do that. So if you're ever in a place where you want to harm yourself, find someone that will walk you off the ledge. Where'd you go for comfort as a kid, as an adolescent, as a young adult, as an adult? Where do you go for comfort? Who held you securely and spoke gentle, soothing words into your ears? Who did that for you? I tried to do that for my children and grandchildren and those that are close to me. Whose presence kept you grounded? My hope is this session keeps you grounded. Who did you look forward to seeing the most? Who spoke words of solace to you? Who encouraged you? Whose language and voice patterns do you mimic to this very day, and did you mimic in the past? Wow, these are powerful questions. And again, This is your chart that you are designing. I'm not designing this. I'm not, I may be the facilitator, I may be the guide, the tour guide, but the stopping points are your life, not mine, not someone else's. And if genius is determined by anyone, I'm sorry, by anything, genius is determined by you taking seriously what's going on in your own world. That's what we want you to do, huh? That's what we want you to do. So who made you feel safe? Where do you go? Where did you go for comfort? Who held you securely and spoke gentle and soothing words into your ears? Whose presence kept you grounded? Who did you look forward to seeing the most? Who spoke words of solace to you? Who encouraged you? Whose language and voice patterns did you mimic? Answer these questions. Who touched you in inappropriate ways? Either way out. Huh? There's a whole section on uncomfortable touch. There's a reason for it. I've been doing this many years. 4 years plus. I've worked with a lot of people that have been harmed in inappropriate ways. Who harms you physically? Whose very presence invoked fear for you? Who or what caused your family disruption, anger, depression, divorce, illness? Who was the causative agency? Maybe it was you. There certainly have been times in my life when I have been the causative agency of family disruption. I take full account for that. Who destabilized your family? And again, maybe it was you. I have destabilized my family. Who shamed you? Whose words left welts and pockmarks on your soul? Who caused you to wither and retreat? Before whom did you cower? Look at these questions. Pour your life into them. I'm going to say it again. If you do this now, you will save yourself thousands of dollars of therapeutic interventive work, and you will accelerate the readiness factor of how you're going to discover your genius and live your life forward. As we begin to awaken these memories and emotions that are connected and attached to them in either relationships that are still woven together or in fact have been broken, we want you to observe who spoke what messages for you and about you. Which of these messages have impacted the path you chose, which got you to today? What main messages have you retained? And what messages are at the core of your being? Take a moment here. Once again, you may stop the video. You may replay this a dozen times. I certainly would if I were you. It took me years and years and maybe decades as a therapist to understand the value of these kind of core internal questions and the capacity they have to pry open the sealed vaults that allow the soul to go and become free. Who spoke messages over you and about you? I speak a message of healing to you right now. Which of these messages have impacted the path you chose, which got you to today? And what main messages have you retained? And which messages are at your core being? Learn lessons. The earliest of cognitions matter. The earliest of cognitions matter. The messages you hear first and often in your life speak loudly for the days that come along. The messages you hear first and loudly in your earliest days of your life speak very, very boldly as you go on with your days. Your earliest impressions still resonate and even often dictate how you feel and why you behave as you do and what you see as possible for yourself. I want you to think about the things that we are talking about. I want you to absorb these into your inner soul. I want you to think about getting better. I want you to imagine that your life can improve, because guess what? I'm in the improvement business. My whole life is about dealing with people that have been absolutely harmed. And I love the work I have done over all these years. So we're going to go backwards again. We're going to look at the most important diagram, perhaps, I've ever created, although I've created a lot of them. And we're going to take a gander again. I just want you to take a moment. I want you to linger here. I want you to just settle. I want you to stop how busy your days are. And I want you to think about genius and the fact that genius has to do with your decision to let go of some things in the past and decide to cling to, first discover and then cling to, and then let it be a carrying wind, the great energy that God has put in your soul. So we want you to know as you look at the chart that you got to start alone, folks. You must start alone. That is the first principle of genius. You have to start where you are, broken, busted, rich, on top of the world, hitting home runs every day, running marathons every day, struggling to get out of bed today, addicted, non-addicted, in some form of recovery, not recovering, broke, financially capable, educated, wanting to become more proficient, wherever you are. You have to claim that moment as your own. You have to start where you are. And you have to embrace it. And then personal rocket fuel. Personal rocket fuel is not something that you can, infuse inside of your own self. This is the energy that God puts inside of souls. You see, I believe that God is the one that stirs the soul. I believe that. I don't think you and I can do this on our own. If you're not a religious person, that's okay. You can disagree with me, but I'm just saying, for me, I believe that God is the one that creates that internal stir. That God is the one that makes it so we don't feel comfortable. That God is the one who says that my life can improve. God is the one who says that I can do better than this. God is the one who says that you were made for more than this. God is the one who says you can do better. That comes from God. And I believe that, and I believe it's inside of you. And I believe you're right now taking a hard look at that. And I think you're starting to feel it and recognize it and accept it. Okay, not as a scary thing, but as this thoroughly exciting thing. And then your genius is decipherable. God does not hide this in some lockbox and bury it at the bottom of the deepest part of the ocean. God does not take your genius and make it so that you will only discover it if you've been bent and twisted and put on a rack and stretched for 400 years. No, your genius is discoverable. It's decipherable. You have to believe that and accept it. And then big process for you. You are shooting into too small a target. That has been my experience in life. And when I help clients or people that come to me or institutions, because I do this on an institutional basis because the material has such value institutionally. And by the way, if you're in a church, I do Genius Path work for churches, and you should let us come and do it. So you're just shooting at too small of a target. You've got too small of a viewpoint. You're looking through the lens of the eye of a needle. You're not looking through the lens of one of those those cameras that has a panoramic view, if you will. You just have to learn how to rethink and reevaluate and review things. And we show you how to do that. And we're going to be doing that as we march along. And then the 12 principles. I cannot wait till we work through the 12 principles together. It's going to be such a great journey for all of us. And then vision casting, this idea that you can take the fuzzy, hazy, unclarity, emotional fogginess, and you can wipe that away, and you can begin to use clear language and clear pictures and gain clear imagery, and you can begin to focus that in such a way that it becomes a benefit. We show you, and we have process work for vision cast. I love doing that work. I love vision cast work. In fact, when I do the Genius Path presentations, in front of groups or institutions or work with churches or whatever it is, or human beings or our families, whatever, however I get to do this, and I do it in all kinds of settings. I think I love the Vision Cast piece more than any. And it's hard to say because it's all good, but I love seeing people come to the place that they begin to have some ideas and to watch the light bulbs go on in their minds. It's powerful and it's so enriching to me as a presenter and a facilitator. And then the universal genius grid, it is this idea that your life fits, listen, into God's greater scheme. Scheme is not a bad word. It's this idea that your life, your energy, your focus, your creativity, your hard work, your focused, laser beam focused genius, that it in fact dovetails and weaves and interweaves into this larger tapestry that is the universal genius grid. It's so fun to do that session. I've done it again many times, and it's just really a great experience. And then volcanic activity. You know, what we want you to do is begin to anticipate conflict. Let's say that again. As you begin to weave your way along this serpentine pathway that is not linear and it's not circular, this serpentine genius pathway, you begin to experience conflict, and the conflict is to be expected. The conflict is to be understood. The conflict is not to be hidden from or protected from. Now, certainly we don't want to be harmed. I don't mean physically. I mean just in terms of the fact that you're going to be pushing against other people's territories and they're going to not like it. Or you may be breaking free from other people's tethers that have kept you from going forward. Volcanic activity, we show you how to work with it and how to embrace it and how to make it something that gives you, emboldens your life. It doesn't make you paralyzed any further or any longer. And then island formation, this notion that your dream, your intellectual property, your creativity, your outcome of your hard work forms up things of value. And those things become, if you will, enterprise, meaning people are willing to spend money to purchase them or to gain wisdom from you or to gain insight from you or to leverage it into something else in their own life. Anyway, we have a whole section on island formation. And then language and culture and tribe. I have created all kinds of language in my life. And I love when people speak it back to me the way I intend for it to be spoken. And then the culture and tribe, for these things to become just commonplace in your life. It is not always commonplace for me. I'll say it like that. But when it happens, and when culture, the people do allow my ideas to become a part of their personal culture, and they become brand ambassadors. And as I said, it's not an everyday occurrence for me. I don't want to have you be misled here. But when it does, I treasure it. It's soul satisfying. Let's use that term, okay? And then expeditionary force and plant your flag. Then just plant your flag. I'm a writer. I'm a creative. I'm a budding filmmaker. I'm a presenter. I'm an orator. Plant your flag. Drive it deep down into the soil of your island that you have formed. Take your stand there. Here I am. Here is where I stand. And then the one big obsessive idea, God will give you this. For me, it is that one day, millions and millions of people every single day consume some, if not part, if not all of the material that I spent my life creating. And then to create that, see that dream that starts way down yonder, to see it to start to become a reality and to see it building into an empire. That is just monumental effort work. So that's where we are today. Now, if you want to connect with us, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. Just go to saintallegius.org, saintallegius.org, drop us a note. register. We're not going to send you a bunch of stuff, but if some, if not all of this material has welded itself and melded itself to you, then you need to say, man, something of value is here. You ought to be saying, I need to pay attention. There's no coincidence. There's no happenstance here. Your world and my world intertwined on this day. Not for my benefit, for yours. I'm going to say one more thing about churches. If you're a part of a church that's really struggling, I know a lot about church work, and I would love to help your church get unstuck and to work your church through this material. I tell you, it has value. I'll just leave it at that, okay? For you personally, next time we're going to end this introductory pieces. Got one more introductory chunk to do. This is part one. And then we're going to dive deep into the actual Genius Path work. So I hope this has been beneficial for you. It's been awesome for me. And it just brings me back to such pleasant places because I wrote these things many years ago. And I practice them now with humans and churches and companies and institutions and universities. And it is a joy and a privilege to do so. So go to saintallegiance.org. We are building a GCC, a global cultural conversation. We're less than until you add your voice to the vocabulary, if you will. And go to saintallegiance.org, drop us a note. And I remind you that till next time, I'm Dr. Steve Bonenberger, and we have gone through the Genius Path intro part one. We'll do part one in a few days to come. So till next time, I'm Dr. Steve Bonenberger, and this is Moments with Dr. Steve. Travel far.